Hey, welcome to my channel. I'm Lady Nyx, intuitive artist, crafter, and photographer. Today we'll be making a greeting card. Allow yourself to have fun when you make this card. Let it be for the person that you want to give it to. You can stamp, color, collage different materials onto the card. If you got a variety of different art supplies, play with it. You know, there's so many things. Washi tape is always a good one. But definitely get yourself some cardstock books, which gives you options of colors and textures. And shears are something else that I enjoy using and incorporating. Embellishments are also something that's also select in making a greeting card. There's so many varieties and things you use to make your card stand out. Select a few solid colors to play with as well, and if you got anything else, go for it. Now let's get started. Grab a 8.5 by 11 cardstock, and you're gonna want to fold it in half. And usually you would fold it the long ways, like on the bottom, and the short, you know, where it opens. And just crease it with a pen or some sort of like flat thing, a card. And cardstock books are where it's at. You can find so many patterns, different textures and colors and sayings that you can use in your card. I went ahead and grabbed some of this, and I used some shears to cut a piece on the edge there. So I'm gonna go ahead and do it landscape mode. You can do it a portrait mode. Cut a 5x7 of a sheet of cardstock that you want to use as your background, and then you can add another solid color or pattern to your card, and you know, use shears to make different patterns from the paper that you are using. And you can always cut off a top and like this, and you know, use it on the bottom to create like a balance between the solid colors and the textures and colors that are on that pattern one. And you know, you want to keep it proportionate to where it almost mirrors each other, but is put in a very like intentional way. And you know, adding something to bring depth into the card. The light blue one, is a way to make it your display, your forefront of what your card is meant for, who it's meant for. And you know, kind of shape around what works and pick out sayings from the cardstocks, scrapbook magazines or books that you may have, and you know, just pick out something cute like this. I mean, this, you are such a wonderful reason to celebrate. I mean, I think it's cute. On the bottom it did have confetti, but I went ahead and cut it into like little squares that I thought I was going to use, but I ended up not doing it just because I don't think it really works. But you know, it doesn't hurt to try. See, maybe it does work, and you know, you want to use the scrap pages that you cut out into your card. You can make it collage-like, you can make it simple, extravagant, whatever you want. I wanted to incorporate this washi tape because I think washi tape is fun. It adds you know, another element to your card or your project that you did. Now that I have an idea of where I'm gonna place things, I'm gonna just take everything off and start making adjustments. Make sure you know that it's aligned on the edge of where the paper is folded, and then you can cut around the white part if you want. When you're gluing, you can use a glue stick, double-sided sticky tape, or even Mod Podge to secure your pieces together. So now we're just going to start placing our pieces and putting the main pieces on the card that we are for sure going to keep. And I feel like this piece might be a little too wide, so I'm gonna go ahead and trim off a little bit here. So if you need to do that, grab yourself a ruler and a pencil and make your markings and trim off those edges if you need to. You can use regular scissors or craft shears. So I'm gonna go ahead and glue this blue sheet to create a balance. It's almost the same size as the piece above, but having a pattern and then a solid kind of brings it together and creates a nice composition. Putting the pieces together kind of helps you see what you want, and honestly, this card took me a while to make. This is on fast mode. But creating like proportion, or the proportion between the saying and the border kind of creates like this frame, and it creates a balance and a depth that makes the card unique in its own way. These shears are probably the best thing that I've ever purchased. I recommend getting a box or a few at a time. Sometimes the craft stores have like sets of 10 or 12 of different shears, and I mean there's so many different textures, and you can use the scraps for other things, which is pretty cool. I'm gonna frame this and kind of lay out a lot of variations of textures, something straight and then organic, such as the frame, and the frame being, more structured. So I'm gonna use some washi tape, which I think is always fun, to create a border around the saying. And find something that works for you. I really like the organicness of the tape, how the colors are blended in together, but also have the same variation of color in the textured paper that we used behind it. Adding it just kind of creates like a focal point, and that's always important whenever you're making a greeting card. You want the focal point, the thing that's in the front, the forefront, and it just kind of, it creates a meaningfulness to it. Just kind of clean it up so it looks even and none of the edges are sticking out. And I do like to overlap this, and the different textures between the saying and the frame and those lines behind it kind of gives it a nice composition, a nice play with textures. That's always fun. Textures are my favorite. I really enjoy it. ahead and glue that strip onto the solid blue. And like the blue is kind of uneven, and that's fine. It just shows that it was handmade and crafted uniquely. But adding the frame also kind of helps bring it together. For those cards that have like pop-up little images, I didn't have any of the double-sided foam cushions, so I ended up using cardboard and cutting little squares. So you're gonna want to put each square on the corner and glue them with a hot glue gun or Mod Podge, whatever kind of sticky thing you have. I used cardboard, like I said, so just cut that up. If one of them is undoing and like starts falling apart, you can just glue the sheets together and it should be fine. So once you have the corners on there, kind of place it where you want and just check and see if you need to add like a middle backing, just to secure it from bowing in. And while you're doing this, be sure to be mindful of where you're placing things, because you just might scoot in to the main piece like I just did. So make sure your area is organized to where you know where all your stuff is while you're creating. That way it's easier for you to figure out where you want to put things and place things to make your greeting card. So I'm just going ahead and secure the corners of the washi tape just so it doesn't unravel and start curling up from humidity and whatnot. While you're making the card, think about who you're giving it to and think about the elements that you want to put on the card that make you think of this person. Go ahead and glue the backing of the saying onto the frame, and try to center it as much as I can to make sure it doesn't overlap on the frame itself. Just a nice balance in between, and just press it in the back to secure it with your glue stick or Mod Podge, whatever you use. So once you have those backings and everything glued onto the frame, just think about where you want to place it. While you're gluing, if you use cardboard, it may undo. Just glue those pieces together and it'll be secured. But if you have a card that's long ways, like portrait, you can go up to the top, the middle, or the bottom. Really, all you can do is just play around with the materials and elements you have and see what works for you. But I think I'm done here, and I'm gonna go ahead and cut these edges, which if you did cut, good for you. I'm glad you did, because it makes it a lot less hard and not as difficult to cut. I really liked the way this card came out, and the process was very fun. It's always fun to see what comes about with the elements and embellishments you may use. You can write something in here right away if you choose, or you can just leave it blank for whenever you need a card. But I had some 5x7 envelopes lying around, and this is what I'm using for my greeting cards, and it fits perfectly. So if you have that, use it. Well, I really appreciate y'all taking the time to check out my tutorial on making a greeting card, and I really hope y'all come back to see what other fun arts and crafts we do here at Lady Nick's Art Studio. If you make a card, share it and tag me on Instagram. You'll find all my descriptions. Y'all have a good one. Bye!